welcome you to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys, where once again the focus is on Bundesliga football, and the Klassiker has ended here with a huge win for Bayern Munich. It came at the expense of Dortmund, who will go away from this game feeling as though maybe they should have got more out of it, maybe they were unlucky. But how many times do we say that in this kind of game? Bayern found a way to win, and eventually the winning goal was absolutely stunning from Joshua Kimmich. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about everything that went on in what was an entertaining game. It was also controversial in certain areas. There's plenty to discuss. Let's get to it. And in terms of Lucien Favre's team selection, it was exactly as we expected going into this game. They started, of course, with that back three system there with Guerreiro and Hakimi really pushing on. And in the early stages, they did seem to be getting the better of Bayern in those wider areas. They did have good possession. They started the game on the front foot there. Dahoud and Delaney holding in midfield with BRANDT, Hazard and Erling-Braut Haaland leading the line. And for Bayern, it was also very similar there to what we did expect before the game. Neuer in goal. It was Alphonso Davies, Alaba, Boateng and Pavard along the back line. Thiago wasn't fit enough to start this game, so Goretzka and Kimmich holding in midfield, with then Müller, Coman, Lewandowski and Gnabry leading that attacking line. And it was very exciting there to see how those two styles, those two formations were going to come up against each other on the field. And for me, it was a really interesting battle, just like we spoke about there before the game, out wide. And I think, like I say, in the early stages, Dortmund were doing very well. I think Alphonso Davies actually was quite isolated on this right-hand side. Thorgan Hazard was getting in behind. Hakimi was making his way down this side. BRANDT, of course, was roaming throughout. And Bayern actually took a while to get into the game. But as they did, as they started there to get more ascendancy, certainly there was more emphasis on Müller linking up with Lewandowski. Dortmund, they were having to sit much deeper in the field. And as the game went on, those fullbacks that are so important for Borussia Dortmund, they started actually to have to focus on defending. They didn't have the license today to be able to bomb forward. We hardly saw Guerreiro in the attacking areas. And the one problem for Dortmund was, the one big problem was Erling-Braut Haaland. He was isolated. Certainly there, as the game went on, Bayern were pushing very high up. They were leaving space in behind, but every single time the ball there was going up to Haaland, it wasn't sticking. They weren't getting their players close enough to Haaland, and it didn't really help that at half-time, Favre decided to actually sub off Julian Brandt. Sancho came on. He also took a while to get into the game, given the fact there that he's not match fit. And Dortmund never really got on top again in the game. To be fair though, coming up to half-time, the game was very 50-50. Like I say, Dortmund started the better, Bayern came into it, but still there'd been no goals scored, and it was very open game. One team each had a goal line clearance. The early stages there happened for Borussia Dortmund, and then a brilliant goal line clearance from Lucas Piszczek to deny Gnabry. But on the stroke of half-time there, 43 minutes in the game, it was a goal really worthy of deciding any classic match. It really was, because Kimmich, what a strike. He's somebody there who's gone from right back. He's developed himself now into a holding midfield player. His touch on the ball, his technique is absolutely perfect. And I tell you what, this was reminiscent of Lionel Messi's goal against Real Betis. That chip, that absolutely incredible technique. I would have to say, Berkey for me should do better. I think obviously he's caught unaware. He's not exactly expecting that sort of effort there from Kimmich. But at the same time, he does get his hand to it. And once you actually get your hand to the ball there, as you can see, you've got to keep it out. That hand from Berkey, it's not strong enough. He lets it go past him into the back of the net. And ultimately, that there was the goal that won Bayern the game. And a brilliant goal it was. And you couldn't really say they didn't deserve it. But I wouldn't say today that Bayern were way better, were different class to Borussia Dortmund. I don't really see the game like that at all. I thought Dortmund played well in areas. I think Haaland, although he was isolated, although he wasn't in the game as much as he would have liked, he still had on the day, very much so, a few half chances. He was played in a few times there by Julian Brandt. He was also given a few balls there by Thorgan Hazard in front of goal. Half chances where on other days you would have seen the net ripple. And there was a brilliant moment from Alphonso Davies when Haaland actually took on Alaba. He was advancing there into the Bayern half, looking to go one-on-one with Neuer. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Alphonso Davies, he just appears. That's what he does as a left-back. Suddenly as a striker, you think you're in on goal. And then he just appears out of nowhere. He gets back. He recovers so well. He helps out his teammate there, David Alaba, in defence. Brilliant play again from Alphonso Davies, something he does nearly every single game. But of course, the big controversial moment came in the second half just before the hour mark, and this for me was a big turning point in the game, because I do feel as though if Dortmund scored, it might have been different, particularly near the first goal, but if they'd have got an equaliser too, the game could have been very, very different. And it's a cut back there that finds its way to Haaland. He's inside the area. Now Jerome Boateng loses his balance. He's on the floor, but that's not when the action happens. Haaland then shoots, and as he shoots, Boateng puts out his elbow to block the shot, and it makes connection there with his elbow that is certainly in an unnatural position. Now the problem was, nobody from Dortmund appealed the decision. It hit his elbow there, it diverted the shot round the post. That could have easily been going in if Boateng there doesn't block the ball with his arm. But Haaland doesn't appeal, neither do any of the Dortmund players, and then they make the mistake of taking the corner quickly, and VAR never got involved. Never for 1 second there was there a question asked of whether it was a penalty, and that was a big, big point in the game for me, because if Dortmund get a penalty there, if they get back in the game, they got the last half an hour there to try and get the winner, and it could have been a very, very different story. But like I say, in these kind of games, Bayern, even if they don't play well, even if they're not at their best, they find a way to win. And shortly after that, things went from bad to worse for Borussia Dortmund. Erling-Braut Haaland there pulling up. It was a Sancho ball into the box. He's looking to get in there, clearly overdoes it, and he pulls up there with a muscle injury, and he goes straight off there and down the tunnel with that problem. And I just wonder here, is that going to be a little bit of an issue? Are we going to see maybe as these games are coming thick and fast now, quick succession, you only got a few days rest in between each of them, especially games of this intensity, are we going to see there a few of these injury problems, particularly their muscle-related issues? And that there certainly is cause for concern for Borussia Dortmund. But you do feel as though now the title, it is going to get away from them. I'm not going to say that Bayern are far and away here going to waltz their way to the title, because you also got to take into account RB Leipzig. They're a team right now on absolute fire under Nagelsmann. They are not going to be easy customers in the title race. But for Dortmund today, they didn't quite do enough. I think Favre does have a lot to answer to. I think right throughout the season, he's certainly had his critics. In the big, big games, when it really comes down to it, you look at the reverse fixture earlier on this season, they got hammered by Bayern. You look in the Champions League against PSG, I think you got it wrong then. I think you look at some of his selections sometimes, you are scratching your head. Once again today, Jadon Sancho left on the bench, then brought on at half-time. I think either stick with the decision and then wait until 60 minutes to bring him on, or you start him. I think taking BRANDT off at half-time was a bad choice from Favre. It really took away there Dortmund's ability to create down the middle. He was one player who was actually getting quite close to Haaland, and I think once you remove that, I think they really, really lacked there in the creative areas. But for Bayern, I think they're very organised and they've got a very, very good defensive structure. I think Neuer as well made a brilliant save in the second half, denying Dahoud from long range. And I think Bayern, certainly there's so much to be optimistic about from their side, because you look at their team, and not only their starting lineup, but you look at the players as well today who weren't playing. The likes of Thiago Alcantara, Coutinho's out injured, players there, Lucas Hernandez coming back, Javier Martinez. You've got so many players to Bayern right now who are actually not even in their team, and they've just got an abundance of talent, an abundance there of quality right throughout. Every single position is absolutely stacked there, full of quality. And I think certainly looking ahead, not only for the Bundesliga title, but also the Champions League, Bayern undoubtedly are going to be contenders. But as Dortmund showed today, you can get at them if you do play in the right areas, if you do play in the right way, you can certainly create chances. Dortmund today didn't take them. One real issue I would have with Dortmund as well, just to add here to their problems, I don't think they shot enough today. I think a few times there, they were playing it around on the edge of the box, they were playing there, their 1-2s, good passing play, but they had openings in front of goal. I think a few times there, BRANDT, I think also Dahoud had a few shooting opportunities, Thorgan Hazard as well, even Haaland, where they could have taken on the shot, they could have had a go at Neuer, but they didn't. They went for that one extra pass, they went there for that one extra movement, and then it broke down. And I just think today Dortmund, with their fans not there, they didn't take enough risks, maybe they weren't quite as effective as they would have been with the yellow wall behind them. But of course, that's something that we'll never ever know. And just like we said before the game, that was always going to affect them. That was always going to be a disadvantage. But in a game where they really couldn't afford to lose, in a game where they needed to win probably to get the title to Borussia Dortmund, it hasn't happened. Bayern have taken a massive, massive step. And in doing so, it's another great result. It's another big step forward for Hansi Flick as the Bayern coach. It's Bayern Munich 1, Borussia Dortmund 0, and a wonderful goal it was. We can't deny that. Kimmich with a wonder chip, chipping Berkey, who should have done better. But Bayern won't give a damn. So that there is my thoughts on the Klassiker coming today from Germany. It was really, really nice to see, wasn't it? A big game, full of intensity. There may not have been a crowd there. There may not have been the usual stuff you'd have surrounding a game of this magnitude, but it was still good football. I think out there on the field, the players were very much involved. The intensity was high. It was a good, free-flowing game. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think from today's Klassiker? Do you think that Dortmund were unlucky in the way they come away from this game with absolutely nothing? And what's your thoughts there on Bayern Munich, with a view, of course, as well, to the Champions League, possibly coming up in August? Let me know all of those thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Who impressed you? And also, if you haven't seen it from earlier, please do check out my Barcelona video there, focused on how our squad is in better shape than ever in this current season. There's plenty to watch, plenty to keep an eye on. I will see you soon, of course, with more uploads. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.